Destin. I recognize quite a few faces in here, some I do not, but this is exactly what we were hoping for. So this is a great start. I'm happy that you're all here because this obviously shows a sincere interest in what the city is wanting to do, this vision for our future. To kind of give you a little background, this is the first of 4 public workshops this week, and we're obviously going to be concentrating on the Crystal Beach planning area. And over here we have a map. You can see the 4 distinct planning areas that we're concentrating on in this effort. Also, this is the first series of public workshops, so we're going to be having another series of these in the late summer, I would assume, kind of the late July, August timeframe. So please pay attention. We've done hopefully a very good job of trying to get this information out about this planning effort. I wanted to inform you that obviously the City Council is not part of this workshop. One reason obviously is they have a meeting tonight. So they're at the City Hall Annex during their meeting, but this is obviously a meeting for you, the public. It's not a City Council workshop. So this is our opportunity to reach out to the public, for you to get involved, and you to have this open discussion with the team of planners here, our consultant team. So what I want to do is kind of frame this a little bit more. Like Mr. Perry has asked me, you know, what is our goal? What is our goal here? So I'm going to try and frame this a little bit more. The effort focuses really on an effort that we've had on updating our comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan is that guiding document, the comprehensive guiding document for our city that helps us move towards the future. So, and it's always room to improve upon that document. So what we've done is reached out to, our council has taken the opportunity to open this up for this visioning exercise. And these documents, our comprehensive plan or our land development code, all these regulations are a lot of words. But what do those words translate into visually? What does that mean when we say you represent a building of 150 feet in comparison to other buildings? And what design criteria are related to those? What do all those words mean in terms of the built environment? So we're going to be working on that. And we needed assistance to be able to do that. And that's why the City Council, we reached out through this effort to find professional experts that can help us do that. So they'll be introduced in a little bit. I want to go through, we had a Destin, not a Destin Forward, what's it called, Okaloosa Today, the TV show, and we wanted to emphasize the main goals. So I'm going to just read these, bear with me, but I'm going to just read these and you can take the notes to help us focus on these main goals. First one, develop consensus around a community design vision for our 4 distinct planning areas in the city. Through this, we're going to identify a mix of scales, heights, character, and uses for development and redevelopment that fits or is appropriate for each district. Develop a community design vision that supports multiple modes of travel within the district's driving, walking, biking, public transportation, those kind of modes. Visualize the desired built environment and character of each district by showing prototypical new buildings, streetscapes, and urban design elements. And lastly, provide clear guidance on the policy and regulatory changes. That's the updating of our comprehensive plan and our land development regulations that help us ensure that we meet that vision. So, probably tired of me talking already. We really want to get into this exercise. I'm going to introduce Lynn Cherry. She is a component of the Canin consulting team. She is going to be facilitating this meeting for us. So I'm going to turn it over to Lynn, and she's going to further introduce the rest of the team. So thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Well, it's great to be in Destin. What a wonderful place to be able to live and call home and be able to work in Destin, Florida. We're excited to be here. Are you ready to think big? All right, that's what we need tonight. We're focusing on your future. And as Ken was saying, we're focusing on 4 of your distinct areas. Tonight is Crystal Beach. Tomorrow night is the Harbor District. Wednesday night is the Town Center. And Thursday night is Holiday Isle. Every one of the meetings are here in this building, and each night they start at 5:30. If you know someone whose schedule does not allow them to come to a meeting during the evening, we have 2 daytime meetings that anyone can come and discuss any topic. Those will be Thursday, noon to 2, and Friday, 11 to 1. So we kind of built them around the larger lunch hour so that folks who may not be able to attend an evening meeting, they can maybe come during their lunch hour, once again, here. All meetings will be in here. So once again, tomorrow night, Tuesday, is the Harbor District. Wednesday night is the Town Center. And Thursday night is the Holiday Isle. Any focus area, any topic during the day is Thursday, 12 to 2, and Friday, 11 to 1. Now imagining you're not writing this down, and you may want to find someone or have a friend that wants to come. We have a website, EnvisionDestin.com. These meetings are listed there, and more information is available on that website. So that's an easier thing to remember, EnvisionDestin.com, for further information. All right, is that good? All right, now, let me have the pleasure of introducing the team that's going to walk us through tonight's process. First, we have Brian Canin. Brian is the principal of Canin Associates. Brian comes to you with worlds of experience. His training is an architect and a planner. Next, we have Eliza. Eliza is also a principal with the company, and she is an urban planner. Third, we have Monica. You met Monica as you were checking in. Monica is an architect and an urban designer. And Jürgen is on his way. You'll meet Jürgen in just a little bit. He's a transportation designer. And I'm Lynn, and I'm a facilitator. I just like to talk. So I'm not a planner, I'm not a subject area, but I'm skilled at being able to talk. So I've got the good job, right? Right? Good. Well, we want to make this fun and make it very interesting to you and meaningful for you. Our whole thing tonight is to listen to you. You're the ones that live here, you work here, you've made investments here. We want to listen to you. And again, tonight's focus is the Crystal Beach. So as we do that, we've got 6 different activities that we're actually going to accomplish tonight. This will be fast-paced and very interactive, so we'll be having you get up and actually taking surveys and all kinds of different things as a way of listening. So the first step will be Eliza. Eliza is going to come and kind of give you an orientation to the entire process for the next set of months and what's the end result going to be. All right, then after that, then Brian is going to come up and give us an overview, and we're also going to ask you about assets and challenges in your area. Then we'll take those, and then we'll end with an actual discussion. And where you have the opportunity to ask us questions, and we have the opportunity to listen to your perspectives. And again, keep in mind that this is focusing on the future. We're imagining now and envisioning Destin in the next 20 years. So that'll be part of what we talk about is, how do we grow smart? What do we look like? What do we want to look like in 20 years from now? So if you'll keep that in your mind, and as we go forward in the next set of hours. All right, Eliza?
Thanks, Lynn. Magic work. Again, I'm Eliza Giuliano. I'm an urban planner with Canin Associates, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the process and then a little bit about, we've spent some time here on the ground. We've spent some time talking to some of the leadership and city councilors in town, trying to find out what, some groundwork before we met with you tonight. So we're going to talk about what we've learned just looking at maps and experiencing the place, and then we're going to hear from you later in the evening about your experience of your neighborhood. The first conversation we're going to have is really actually going to be citywide. We understand that every part of the city touches every part of the city in some respects, so we need to have that conversation each night. And then we're going to focus in on Crystal Beach particularly. In terms of the overall process, as Ken said, we're here tonight really to listen, or this week to listen, and we're going to take those ideas back to our home office and start to create some visualizations of both what your land development code currently allows, and based on the feedback we're hearing from you, what we might change about it to make it match your vision for your community better. So just focusing on Destin as a whole and its place in the region for a few minutes. Again, these are the planning areas. If you want to take a look at those anytime tonight, you can look at them up on the wall. And we've also got a more detailed map of Crystal Beach, an aerial view, if you'd like to take a look at that too.
Can you explain the color coding?
Sure. It's just to differentiate them. This is the Harbor CRA, and that's a community redevelopment area.
What does white stand for?
White is everything that's in the city of Destin that is not part of one of these study areas. So we understand that some of you folks may be here because you care about one of these areas, even though you don't live in the area. But the areas that we're actually tasked to look at are these specific study areas. So first we looked from a regional perspective. Destin obviously has a really good location between two regional airports, Panama City and Pensacola. In addition, it's on this major transportation route, US 98, which is, of course, as you guys know, a blessing and a curse. You get lots of regional traffic, but then you also have to deal with lots of regional traffic. And it's very much on the way to a lot of interesting places in the region, of course, and Destin being a central location within that stretch. Why do people come here? Why have people been coming here for generations? Of course, it's the beaches and the water is a huge region. So getting into Destin's assets, and that's the reason people come not just to Destin, but to the Panhandle as a whole. And that's an asset that you share with the region. But then looking at Destin's particular assets, we found people talking about the rich history, particularly the history around fishing in the city. And that tradition lives on today, even while lots of other things have changed. Obviously, there's new development that's happened that wasn't here in the early 1900s when the people started to settle this area. But the charter fishing and the commercial fishing continues. Of course, the harbor and the harbor boardwalk was a huge effort by the city that was actually identified in another plan I think it was a decade ago, to have that be a community-wide asset. And that's something that people come, not just from the city of Destin, but people come from all over the region and beyond to visit this boardwalk. Another huge asset is the executive airport. I know I am not going to be flying in and out of the executive airport anytime soon, but there are folks that do, and some of those folks do business in Destin or are part of the tourist environment here in Destin. We also, of course, citywide have some challenges. One of the challenges of late has been a decline in property taxes. Of course, property taxes are not the only funding source, but a significant funding source for the entire city budget that funds everything from fixing potholes to the sorts of improvements that you might want to identify as part of the plan. And we, of course, there's a lot of tax value has suffered in recent years, so we wanted to compare also to Okaloosa County as a whole, and we did notice that Destin suffered a little bit more than Okaloosa County as a whole, with the orange showing Destin and the gray showing Okaloosa County as a whole. Destin dipped a little bit deeper and is recovering a little bit slower than the rest of the county. We also looked at the population, and one thing that the city emphasized to us coming in is that there's this big disconnect in the people that live here year-round and the number of people that come here to visit on peak season. So there's the permanent population is about 12,300, I think it's 12,300 permanent year-round folks who live here. But then at peak, there's 70,000 folks here, and it's like a 5-to-1 ratio of permanent population to temporary population. And what does that mean for your lifestyle? It means, well, it means 4th of July you can't get into a restaurant. It means that businesses are slow during winter. It has all sorts of implications. It also, before I move on from that, has some implications in terms of other revenue sources. So there's a lot of money that might come to fund the city budget that's based on how many year-round residents you have, and it doesn't take into account what your visitor population is. So even though you're having to support that visitor population, you're not getting the revenue associated with that population number. And if you think that's something that would use a better balance, there's basically two options. Either you reduce the visitor population, and I imagine a lot of business owners around here wouldn't be too thrilled with that option, or you could potentially increase the permanent year-round population. Right now, the permanent year-round population was increasing for a while, up until 2006, and it's really been kind of at a steady state since then. We also looked at the economy, and this is a representation of jobs in the economy in certain sectors. In particular, the warm colors here are the sectors that have something to do with tourism. So these are the sectors that, if tourism slumps, they're going to be significantly affected by that. And if you look at other areas, they have a much smaller portion of their pie as part of that bright color. So in terms of the physical environment, and that really is what we're here to talk about. We are looking at the physical environment in terms of how it impacts the economy and how it has lots of other impacts, but the Land Development Code affects how the physical environment at the end of the day is going to look. The buildings, the streets. So one piece of feedback that we've gotten so far that we've noticed is that just going along some of the major thoroughfares, there's not a big identity. We've heard from everyone this is a very special place, but that's not necessarily something that comes through as you're going down the road. You don't pass through and have a reason to stop necessarily just from looking around unless you know what's already here that are these assets. In terms of the architecture, we've noticed that a lot of the architecture doesn't have a lot of detailing. It doesn't have a lot of the architectural elements that you might expect, base, middle, and top, which is more specific architecture terms. But anyway, the architecture doesn't have a real local flavor. And in particular, a lot of the way that you see your city and a lot of the way that other folks see your city is on 98. So that's where you might expect to have the image that people are going to experience coming from is on 98 in particular. And we understand that 98 visually has some problems like the overhead wires, really narrow sidewalks, and that has consequences beyond just the aesthetics. It also has consequences in terms of safety. There were almost 800, in a 6-year period, there were almost 800 crashes on US 98. And even though we're talking about Crystal Beach tonight, 98 is something that basically everybody has to travel on at some point. And of those crashes, a large number were motor vehicle crashes, and that's something we're concerned about. We're also concerned about the fact that about a third of those were bicycle or pedestrian related crashes. And so that brings us to parking and mobility. As we start to talk about what are the options for parking or what are the options for different types of transportation, then obviously safety and looking at 98 both from a comfort standpoint and from a safety standpoint are going to be important. If, for instance, we want to talk about better connectivity for either driving or biking or walking, then we have to look at the fact that there's a lot of different folks that own property in this area. And if you want to have any sort of connectivity, you're going to be dealing with a complex pattern of ownership. Another thing that impacts the transportation is who lives here and who works here. So there's about 12,000 people who live here year-round. There's about 12,000 jobs average over the course of the year. That gets higher in the peak season, but over the course of the year, there's about 12,000 jobs. But those folks who live here and those folks who work here aren't the same folks. The actually I think that's an error. I apologize. The 23% are the folks that live in Destin and work in Destin. 77% come in from outside. So that's about 9,000 people average coming in from the outside to work in Destin every day. Another thing we wanted to look at was the regional competitors, because as we said, looking at the tax base, and we didn't look across counties, but we did look within Okaloosa County, it seemed like Destin's tax base was suffering a little bit more than some of the neighbors, so we wanted to look at what the neighbors are doing. And so we looked at, for instance, Sandestin Resort. Now, a lot of people from outside probably think Sandestin is in Destin, and of course it's not. It doesn't impact the city's tax base positively. It's actually not even in Okaloosa County, it's in Walton County, but it's named after Destin because y'all have such a great brand. And in fact, Okaloosa County is also one of the competitors. Destin Commons is also in Okaloosa County. It's not in the city of Destin. So while it may be convenient for you to shop there and there's some great things there, it's not, again, contributing to the city's tax base, at least on a property tax basis. And then a little further down the road, you've got South Walton County, which of course has come up fairly recently as a go-to place for visitors. And Seaside and Rosemary Beach have sort of changed the culture of design within Walton County. And then Pensacola, we've been told that they've really spent a lot of time in recent years improving their mobility in terms of making their downtown more walkable and more vibrant, and we have pictures to prove it. So coming out of all this, looking at those opportunities and challenges, of course our task is to look at the comprehensive code and the land development code, as Ken discussed. So what do we think that we can do as part of that? Well, one part of that might be to actually rebrand Destin, or to bring back the Destin brand in a big way. And that could have to do with instituting design guidelines. It could have to do with re-imaging 98, because that is the front door of the city. Parking and mobility, signage, and also we didn't really talk about this, but restoration of heritage landscape. There's actually a really unique ridge landscape, coastal ridge landscape along mostly south of 98 that's unique to this area, and you can see it in spots. But bringing that back in a big way could be an interesting landmark that's unique to this area. If we think that increasing housing and job diversity, as we talked about, the job market is tilted towards tourism and the housing market is tilted away from permanent population. If you wanted to increase those, the town center area, which I don't know if most folks are familiar with that by name, but it's where the old time pottery is, and where the, I think there's is it Target? Target. Sorry?
Main Street.
Main Street, yeah. The area around Main Street is, there's a lot of asphalt there in places that probably more than needs to be. So we see that as an opportunity potentially for redevelopment. And of course it's something that's been identified by the city as a community redevelopment area, so that's the intent. And so that's a conversation citywide. I'm not going to hand it back to Lynn, and we're going to do a little bit of both, citywide and local conversation.
All right, thanks, Eliza. Now it's your turn to get up and tell us your perspective. What we'd like to do is for you to think about, as I'm talking about, assets and challenges. Assets and challenges citywide. Assets and challenges unique to Crystal Beach. As you think about those answers in your mind, now start elevating those up to the top three. From your perspective, what are the top three assets in Destin? What are the top three assets in Crystal Beach? Reverse that. What are the three main challenges in Destin? What are the three main challenges in Crystal Beach? And as you think about that, and you think about how am I really going to answer that, think about forward. Eliza just gave you some just general information about the city. What is it that you want to do? Where is it that you want to go? Now, you can see here there are 4 yellow large flip chart paper. On top of the flip chart paper is a color. So this example is the orange, says challenges for Crystal Beach. If you have a perspective of a challenge for Crystal Beach that's part of your top 3, in a minute you will physically go there and write those down. We have markers on the floor, because there just wasn't a table to put them on, for everybody to write. And the thought is, if you see something that is already on the flip chart paper, there's no sense of having to write the same thing again. Just check it. So if we see 5 checks or 6 checks, then we already know. Then there's 5 or 6 folks that have that same perspective. Okay? So this first one here is challenges Crystal Beach. Then the yellow one on top is assets Crystal Beach. Challenges citywide. Assets citywide. Okay? Now, if you've ever worked with flip chart paper before, this style of flip chart paper has Post-it. So if you get up here and this page on any of the sections is already full, right? Have somebody to help you. Tears off easy, right? And this has Post-it. You have enough space to keep on adding. So don't let just one page limit you. Write as big as you can so that we can see it from a distance, because then we're going to sit back and have that aha moment. Okay? So for now, we've got a large crowd. There are several ink pens and each one has its own unique color. Please don't take the orange pen and take it over here, because those are green over there, okay? So when we get back to the house, we want all the green pens to be assets of Citywide. We want all the orange pens to be assets Crystal Beach, and don't confuse us when we get back, okay? All right. Since there is a large crowd, I can imagine that there will be a bog down in this. So we may want to be proactive, team. And Doug and team, if you'll go ahead and help us, let's go ahead and separate these out so that we have 2 pages.
Harder. So this is a lot of work. What we're going to show you is, and have you actually help us with, is something that's really important to us in terms of moving forward with the work we have to do. And this is what we call a visual preference survey. That gives us a lot of input that we'll be taking back to the office and working with. And it's designed for you to tell us what you feel is appropriate and not appropriate in the town, city. So it's, you know, when you look at these pictures, you may say, well, I really like that one, but that's kind of nice to know, but what we want you to think deeply about is it appropriate, say, over the next 20 years, to appear or to strive for in this city. And the reason we're doing this is you probably know this, we found that people find it really difficult to describe what they like or what they don't like with words. But you've all heard that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So our brains are set, they're wired, we see thousands, millions of images in our lives, and we make really quick decisions and judgments on the images we see. So our brains are programmed to look at a picture and know really quickly whether we feel we like it, and in this case, the question is it appropriate? So that's part of the way this works. Once we get rolling, we'll give you a few minutes on the first few slides to go a little bit slowly, get comfortable with the way this works. If you've got that form, and every image you see on the screen is going to have a number in it. And that's the line that you're voting on. And if you feel sort of, so-so about it, you might score it in the middle somewhere, a 0 or a 1 or a +1 or a -1 or something like that. If you feel really strongly that this image is very appropriate, you may go all the way up to the +5, or very bad, it's very inappropriate for the town, you might go all the way to -5. And then what we're going to do is collect all these, not only from this group, but from the other groups we're going to meet together, and we're going to synthesize them all, and when we come back to you, which will be in July sometime, we'll tell you clearly, with very good data, what you told us, what you like and what you think is appropriate and what isn't. So that's how this thing works. The slides are organized in 6 categories, as you probably figured out by now. The first group's about landscape and open space, and then we're going to talk about roadways, and then the town center, and then highway commercial, and then signage, and very last will be residential. So you all got those forms. Any confusion about how this is going to work? Did I need to explain a little more? Yes, ma'am.
Are we thinking, is it appropriate for this town as a whole?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking that. You are thinking about this for the city of Destin.
As a whole?
As a whole, yeah. We did not customize this 4 times for every sub-neighborhood. So thanks. Any other questions? Those are really great questions. Okay. So I think we're ready to go. Okay, so the first line on your sheet, on the first page, is in the category of landscape architecture, and slide number 1, which matches line number 1 on your page. Oh, there was one other thing I should have told you. Don't agonize about these. You know, we're going to be going pretty fast. You're going to get about 5 seconds after we get rolling. So really what's important is your gut feeling. The moment you see it, you think about it, just a little, don't worry about it, and put down, you know, a check mark or a cross, however you want to do it.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you may like that, but is it really appropriate for our city?
Exactly. Like
So are we answering it so we can say, yes, we like it, but are we really thinking, yeah, we like it, but that's not going to work in Destin?
That is exactly the answer. We don't care that much whether you like it. It's whether you feel it's appropriate or inappropriate. And that's how you score plus or minus. Another question, ma'am.
So in a situation like a photograph like this, I mean, we'd all probably love it. We'd probably miss that opportunity.
Well, I don't know that that's true. I don't think that's true. We have a town center. We have a lot of land in there over the next 20 years. These things, think of possibilities, right? But you're going to see some things that you think are very impossible. Like if I had a great picture of Central Park, you know, great place, but you wouldn't think it was appropriate. So when you see an image like that, you have to be a little bit imaginative, because there's a lot of land in that particular area, the town center. That's possible, okay?
So you figure out where it goes.
Yeah, that's not, you decide if you, I think I love the questions you're asking, because the answer is, if you, in the next 20 years, think something like this could happen in Destin, and you think it's appropriate, you give it a score. Okay? Say again? Okay, line 1, take a shot at it. We're going on to the next one real quick. So everybody got line 1? Good, okay. Number 2, landscape architecture, open space, take a shot at it. You don't have a lot of time. We're all set to go another one? Number 3. Line 3. Is it appropriate? Could it happen? Line 4. Everybody got 4? 5. Still about landscape architecture and open space. Is it appropriate or not in the city? Line 6. It's got other things in it, but think about landscape for now. Everybody good on that one? And if I do go fast, because I'm going fast, and you want me to slow down, just let me know. 7. Still landscape and open space. Line 8. Line 9. And by the way, we wouldn't have put something in here that was completely impossible, okay? So think that these are possibilities. Line 10. Very good. Line 11. Now go to line 12. Just got to check it. Don't have to really get it exactly right. Line 13. $14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. And 21. And a few more to go. 22. And this may be the last one in the group. Line 23. Yeah, so I can flip it over and go into a different category. I'm going to talk about roadways. First slide, line 25.
This is just about the road, not like the buildings and the signs.
These are about the road. This is all about the road.
Okay.
Roadways. Yeah.
So the asphalt, the bike lane.
Like the parking and all the signage
You-
and the size of the
Yeah, I mean, Eliza just reminded me, this is about the road, and it's about the edges on the road. It's the whole feeling of the road.
So do not include the signage and all the other junk from the Goodyear tire guys.
Yeah, just,
You do want to-
yeah, it's the edge of the road, how you feel about the road, you know.
It's okay with the road, I ain't okay with all the signage.
No, it's the experience, it's the experience of that road. I'm really glad you guys are asking these questions because it helps us explain it properly. So that was, and we can come back if we have to do one of these. So this is the next one. This is this road appropriate? And that's the big question always, is it appropriate or inappropriate? For the future. So on line 26, it's the second slide you've seen under roadway. Now we go to 27. Everybody good on 27? Go to 28.
Are we to ensure that that's a one-way?
It's actually a two-way street. You're only seeing half of it. Now we're on 29. And 30. And 31. And now we go to 32.
You're looking at the parking lot there?
You know, you're looking at the edge of the road, and the way these things get scored helps us understand detailed parts of it. But you just tell us what you think of it. So that was goal 32, line 32, and this is 33. And 34. 35. 36. It's a skinny road. It's a very skinny road. And 37. And 38. I think that's the last one. Okay. So now we go into the town center. And so the town center is an area where a lot of things can happen over the next 20 years. And so I think we have quite a lot of images in here. So the first line we've got there is line 40 in the town center. Is this appropriate for the city of Destin? You decide. Next one is 41. 42. 43. 44. Line 45, town center. Next is 46. And 47. Next line is line 48. Still in the town center. And 49. We go to line 50. Line 51. Line 52. Line 53. Line 54. '55. 56. 57. Am I going about the right speed for everybody? Okay. Line 57, town center. We go to 58. '59. Now on 60. 61. 62. 63. 64. And 65. 66. A lot of pictures. 67. 68. 69. 70. 78, 71, sorry. There might be one more coming. 71. So there's the town center, and now we're going to go to highway commercial. So we've got relatively few on that next page, but we start with our number 73. Again, is it appropriate or not for the future? Line 73. 74. Yeah, Eliza reminds me, in case you actually know who the tenants are. The tenants are not important. It's what it looks like and feels like. It could be any tenant. So that was 74.
Doesn't matter if you like the food, it's what it looks like.
Yeah, the food's not important. 75.
So we're just talking use, really, and form.
You know, you're trying to decide if these images are appropriate for the next, going forward to plan for the next 20 years. That was 75. So it is the form, a lot of it. The uses are also part. 76. Everybody good on 76? 77. 78. 79. 80. And we've got 81. 82. It's not the food. 83. 84. 85. 85. I think there's one more to go. And 2 more to go. So signage. First line, 87. I think you've seen that one before. 87. Is this appropriate for the future over the next 20 years for the city? How do you feel about it? 88. 89. 90. 91. 92. 92. 93. 94. 95. 96. And of course, these are different types of signs, so some of them are more pedestrian oriented. And I think we're on the last group now, and really appreciate the hard work here. Residential, all types of residential. So this is the first one on line 98. '99. 100. 101. 102. 103. 104. 105. 106. 107. 108. 109. 110. 111. 112. 113. 114. 115. 160. 117. 118. 119. 120. 121. 122. 123. 124. 125. 126. 127. 128. 129. 130. I think the last one is 131. Thanks for the hard work, guys. It was, everybody's really diligent. Thank you very much.
Can you pass them to your right in the aisle and we'll pick them up? Streets and sidewalks. I wasn't sure. So who wrote that one? Wider streets and sidewalks. What did you mean by that?
What I'd like to see is an asset.
Okay, so it's an asset you want to see, but you don't see it today. Okay. The dog park. You guys got a new dog park, right? And access to the beach. Good, plentiful parks and recreation activities. Sidewalks for walking. Military families. And the base's impact on the economy. So that's citywide assets. For citywide challenges, we see traffic, got a lot of check marks. Also bicycle safety, car safety. Walkability is further down the list. Burying phone and electrical lines. Also signage being too large. Beautification, I assume that's a desire for more beautification, not too much beautification. Overdevelopment. Lack of emergency evacuation routes. Parking, both resident, and that came up twice, public parking and resident parking. Zoning and planning, crosswalks, and I couldn't read this.
Over, under.
Yeah, either,
Oh, so maybe having overpasses and underpasses instead of just crosswalks on at grade. Occupancy rates. And from what I've heard, I think this mainly has to do with occupancy rates in single-family houses, or are we talking about occupancy rate in hotels?
Single-family houses.
Okay. 30 in a house, yeah. Non-functioning multimodal. Code enforcement. Insufficient police enforcement. Spring break. No retirement development, CCC. A lack of non-beach recreation. Safety comes up again on 98. Maintaining the water quality in the harbor. Again, traffic, beach access. The need for more turn lanes. And again, more public parking. So that's the citywide challenges. Now we're really going to turn our focus to Crystal Beach specifically, which I know is what definitely a lot of you are here to talk about. So from this point forward, we're really going to be talking about Crystal Beach. And I didn't have a chance to set this up beforehand, so we'll just pull it up now. Okay. And again, this is our impressions as planners of the area. Certainly, if you disagree with us, that's why you're here. So don't be shy about telling us. One thing that was a question that came up while we were milling around was there has previously been some comprehensive plans proposed. This is a separate process. Those comprehensive plan amendments weren't accepted. That's one reason we're doing this process. We have not made any recommendations yet in terms of comprehensive plan or land development code. We're going to be making those at the end of this process. Another question was about the 3D modeling we're going to be doing. That's what we're going to show you when we come back in probably late July. We haven't set that date yet, but once we set it with the city, we'll be sure to let everybody know. Okay, so now turning to Crystal Beach specifically. This is going to be a short presentation so we can get to all of your comments. First, looking at assets. Attractive single-family resort development. This really is the area where we see the single-family vacation, the family-friendly vacation. It appears more than maybe other areas of the city. We also see some primary residential neighborhoods. And I know one thing we discussed is there's a little bit of mixing there. So some of those primary residential neighborhoods also have short-term, but some of them tend more towards primary. Primary meaning you live there all year round, as opposed to short-term rental. I'm going to stand on this side. Yeah, can you check the button for me? So we saw some really cute neighborhood retail center. We don't know if there's just one of these or if there's a couple, but this is the first one we saw. Next. we really saw, this is the area of the city where we saw the most, at least off-season. Now, we haven't spent time here yet on-season, although we'll do that. Where we saw the most people out walking and cycling, particularly children, families with children. Next. And one of the reasons for that probably is that nice shared use trail that exists there on the scenic highway. Next. And one of the reasons that trail functions really well is that there's a lot of parallel streets in Crystal Beach that don't really have that option as much in other areas of the city. So you've got a lot of geography here that's south of US 98, so that you can have these parallel roads and they don't have to take as much traffic close to the beach. Next. Obviously, so we saw that too, proximity to Henderson Beach State Park, right in your backyard. Next. Now, compared to the rest of it, I saw that somebody mentioned in the challenges public beach access on Crystal Beach. At least compared to other areas of the city, it seems like there's a lot more public beach access points than there are in other areas of the city. Okay? And so challenges. So while there are more public beach accesses, the higher density development being on the water side does cut off to some extent views of the water or views of the beach from the scenic US 98. Next. We've heard some rumblings that there's disagreement around the architectural design of some of the buildings. Next. And opportunities, specifically development opportunities. We can talk about other opportunities as well. We understand that the Henderson Beach Resort redevelopment is already being considered, and they've already had some meetings with folks in the neighborhood. Next. And there's actually a decent number of vacant properties within Crystal Beach. Big one you see here, that is Henderson Park Resort, or Henderson Beach Resort. Some of them are just single family. Now, if you look real close at that map and you see some piece of land that's actually a sliver of buffer between neighborhoods, this is what the city database identifies as vacant. So there may be some pieces in there that are not actually potential development sites, but a lot of them are. And the rest really is up to you for the rest of the evening. Sorry. Before that, we're gonna switch over here and see what you guys identified as the assets and the challenges, and then we're gonna go on to public conversation. So in terms of assets, public beach access. So we got that one right, good. A walkable, pretty neighborhood, no high rises, close to the mid-bay, easy access to EGI and AFB. Eggling Air Force Base, sorry, thank you. Multi-use trails, bike paths, walking, restaurants, the beach, of course, garden areas, walking distance from the commons and shopping, protect transition area, sorry?
Yeah, transition areas from the single family, multifamily.
So there are transition areas from the single family to the multifamily mixed use, and we have somebody saying that needs to be protected. In terms of challenges, a lack of code enforcement, a lack of public beach access parking. Okay, so maybe it's not the beach access, but there isn't parking at the beach access. A lack of traffic control, such as speeding. A lack of east-west traffic corridors, which y'all are way better off than the rest of the city, but maybe there's always room for improvement. Lack of entertainment and activities, beach pollution, tourists. Well, just one check mark by that one. A lack of public beach space. Bicycle paths, people ride in the street. Tourist parking, too many cars per household. That's something we've heard a couple of times. Tourist density per house, so I think that's getting at the same thing. Aging structures needing repair. Need theme architecture. Snowbirds who don't really shop or tip. We have some people from the service industry here. Beach cleanup. So go back to private. No trespassing signs on the beach. Beach access for the public with parking. Travel within the beach area. Renters not following the rules or the owners not posting the rules. High occupancy rentals. So we're seeing that come up again and again, the high occupancy rates. Spring break. Lots of check marks. Noise. Helicopters. Okay. That's what I thought that said. I was just surprised. Protecting our natural beach. No beach renourishment, white sand only. So that, somebody explain that to me, because I'm an out-of-towner.
They bring in sand from outside so that your sand is still white.
Oh, okay, so the beach they bring in isn't white sand. Okay. That might be a little out of our scope, but we'll pass it on. Large jet noise, preventing high-rise buildings, and beach view encouraged protected. So just that gives you the lay of land of what your neighbors here in the room are saying. So from here on out, I'm going to actually hand it over to Lynn, and she's going to facilitate conversations with the other evening.
All right, thanks, Eliza. I think I'll use the cord plate. And Eliza and the team are going to come, and if you need a microphone. Okay, all right, good, I can do that. All right. Wait a minute. But Monica, who's going to scribe? I am. You're going to scribe? Get our team set up in. All right. This part of the segment is an opportunity for us to listen to you specifically. What we would like is individuals who would like to tell us anything that you feel important about Crystal Beach. This conversation will focus on Crystal Beach and focus on the future. If you have any questions of us, this is the time to ask questions of us. If you want to know about the process or just what are we doing, what is it going to look like, this is the time for you to ask those questions. And in order to make this fair-minded, what we would like to do is encourage everyone to participate. And in asking everyone to participate, that we ask that one person speaks at a time. I'll identify you so you know it's your time, and then we'll go to the next and to the next, okay? Again, we're focusing on the future, and we're here to listen. We want to make sure that you're staying on track, on topic. So if we find that you're repeating yourself and you're going over and over again, I'll use a sign that looks like this. Okay? If I use a sign like that, that means, okay, we got it. We got it. You don't have to say it over again. We got it. We're good. All right? So that'll just help us keep going so we're not here till midnight. Okay? The other piece is that you may disagree with the direction. And there's certainly opportunity for that. We want to hear from all perspectives. So, but the thought is, if you disagree, don't be disagreeable. Okay? We're not here to give character assassinations to anybody, but certainly want to know that you feel a perspective that's important to you. We certainly welcome that. All right? With that, I will take the first question, and now, am I going to walk around? Okay, all right. All right. Now, and one thing that we learn as facilitators is we never hand a mic over, right? So, I'm going to hold the mic, and where was the hand? And I'll go ahead this way. Okay, should I'm in the red. So if you don't mind coming this way, and that way I don't have to step on people's toes.
Yeah, my name is Jim Robinson. I'm Community Association Manager for Crystal Shores and also Destin Beach Villas. And I also lived and owned in the Crystal Shores for a while. I've been in fact in that area for almost 15 years. So I've watched that area develop, and I've seen some problems with it. The main thing I'm saying is that my understanding was of those neighborhoods is that they are single-family dwellings, and that's the way they're listed in most times in your codes, in the development codes. The problem is that there must be, I think, there's some flaw in the code because we're seeing some houses, particularly along Scenic 98 or any other large lots, where these houses can house maybe 30 people. So my view of this is, well, how does that a single family? To me, a single family, the resident should be like there's a single family there, or if they're renting, it should look like there's a single family there. That's not occurring. We're seeing what I call some mega houses being built. And I think there's a hole somewhere in the code that's not looking at density properly on a property. And I think that is something seriously needed. Otherwise, we're going to run people out of here because people don't want to live beside a hotel.
Thank you. Was there another hand in this direction while I'm back here? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
You guys didn't announce where you were from. I take it you're not from here.
Okay, let me certainly tell you.
That wasn't my comment, but I have,
Okay.
it's based
Okay.
on my understanding that you're not from here. And you in particular made the comment that we have more beach access points than people in the area. And maybe what the lack of understanding is that the access point is limited to the boundaries of that access. So if it's only a sidewalk that goes down to the beach, that's the limit of where people can stay on the beach. Yes, it is true. Yes, it is true.
Yes, it is true.
Yes, until you get down within 20 feet of the high water line. Then you can go, I understand that. I'm just trying to explain to them what the apparent number of beach accesses is. It's not as many as you might think because it doesn't accommodate very many people. They're not very wide, is my point.
There's been a fight going on with people on the beach, you know, and how much property they own. And this has been going on for years and years and years. And one of the challenges is that they put, you know, markers all the way down to supposedly the high water line. But none of that is really a law because they haven't.
So you're talking about the sandy shore, the sand.
Okay, that's what she's talking about.
Okay.
So we were looking at the number of beach accesses, but what you're saying is that there's not that much accessible beach.
That's correct. There is. That's true.
You don't have to pay for the chair. You put it in front of a condo, they'll throw you off.
I'm from
Okay.
New Jersey, and they did the same
Yeah, so we're talking about
thing.
sand.
Okay.
Hi, so on the beach access, we do have a lot, and I own in Crystal Beach and was involved early on, but those accesses were designed for the residents on the north side of the highway to get to the beach. They're not designed to convert right-of-way into public parking to allow people to come into Crystal Beach. I mean, there's no restrooms, there's no showers at those access points, and our city has developed some of them into converted right-of-way into parking lots.
So are you suggesting that there needs to be that?
No, I'm saying that it should remain as it was designed as 5-foot access points for the residents there. And we convert or leverage Henderson Beach State Park for public beach access.
Is there anybody back here? So you had your hand up?
Okay, so I think I'm a little confused. Are you saying that, okay, what happens to the people that live in Destin proper when we want to go to the beach? And the reason I'm at these meetings is because I want access to the waterways, period. I've been here my whole life, born and raised, and I have no access to the waterways. How do we fix that? I'm not understanding what you're saying. Is it only for the people on the north side of Crystal Beach, or are we trying to make a public, because all of us Destin proper people deserve access to the beaches?
For the public.
Right.
That is, the public beach access is a public beach.
I can't go out there and go to the beach. And my husband's a deputy with the sheriff's office, and all they do is stroke tickets all the way down.
What?
Absolutely.
See, that's the first time I'm hearing.
Oh,
I've been here 24
absolutely.
years, and
They
because there's
stroke
no
tickets.
parking.
There's
That's-
no parking, so
that's
therefore,
ridiculous.
but I like your idea of levying the state park to make it, that's probably the only cure out there. Absolutely. Because if we don't do something, guys, our governor's going to go ahead and develop it, if you didn't go to those meetings. He wants brick and mortar, liquor licenses, bars. So why don't we make that public access? That's where we need to focus. That could cure a lot of the Crystal Beach bickering and fighting. Watch it, they're gonna develop it. I went to the meetings.
You know, is there this way?
I have a question about the new Henderson Beach Resort that's under construction right now. I live 2 blocks from there, and obviously there's going to be increased traffic, and I just wondered how that's going to be handled. A couple of years ago, I went to a meeting, and they were talking about building a roundabout where Matthew and Old 98 intersect, but that seems like not much help to relieve all the traffic that's coming once that resort opens.
Okay, is there anybody here prepared to answer that question, or should we note that question and get it answered?
Question and make a claim.
Well, we'll look at that.
We'll note that question. Okay, all right. Anybody else back here? We're on back here.
One that piggybacks on that
Certainly.
is,
I'll come to you.
it has to do with the same parking issue and traffic issue. I think if you live in Crystal Beach, it doesn't take much imagination to realize that Luke is going to become a real cut through. And right now you've got commercial traffic on there that shouldn't be on there, but you can jump 4 or 5 parking street lights by coming down on Luke and around, and there's just an absolute, there's a disaster waiting to happen there. The sidewalks on Luke are not wide enough for 2 people to walk next to each other, much less a family full of kids going to the beach pulling all their stuff, so they're walking in the streets. You're going to get all of this traffic. I'm going to offend somebody here, and I don't mean to, but on Sunday morning, the number of people that speed for Jesus as they rush to church because they're late, it's not safe being on Luke right before 9 o'clock or right before 10:30, because you're going to get killed. Because it's more important to get to church than it is to slow down or stop at the stop sign. So Luke is going to become a real challenge in a neighborhood that's got a lot of kids, pets, and in the snowbird season, the elderly that are walking out there. So if there's not a traffic plan for Luke, almost none of this works.
If you don't mind coming this way, that way I don't have to step on toes. Thank you. I'll hold it.
I think I'm one of the minority of the population that lives in Destin. It's mainly a retired population from what I see, or soon to be retiring. But we're a military family, and I'd like to see more support for young families and like to see more encouragement for young families moving to Destin, because obviously the people that live in Destin are the ones that are going to continue this vision and continue to make the place that it is. And there's not really affordable housing down here unless you can get a short sale or a foreclosure. And Crestview, Niceville, Blue Water, they're all doing way more to market their city to military members than we are down here. And if you don't know what the latest BAH is for a captain, it's $2,200 a month. So that is a lot of revenue that we're losing out on down here in Destin for not encouraging the military members for coming down. And it's mainly a lot of traffic. When people are looking, they're like, what's the problem? Why aren't we moving in Destin? And it's the traffic. But I would like to see more support for young families. I see nothing recreation-wise for me and my toddler to do. I get no mailings in the mail for recreation, things that are going on in the city. So those are things that I would like to see more of.
I see a hand in this direction, okay? And if you don't mind coming this way, so I'm not going to step on toes, please.
This might not be a very popular idea either, but it might be very good for people coming. I would like to see some doggy access somewhere. Somewhere at the beach, there needs to be doggy access. There needs to be responsibilities. People need to take care of their dogs and clean up after their dogs. But doggies need to go to the beach.
And if, when someone's talking, if y'all can hold your comments too, please, and let's be respectful. All right, we have someone that's fixing to talk back here. All right, thank you.
I just wanted to expound on the traffic and the roads in Crystal Beach, and as he's talking about Luke, it was really built. I live on Dolphin, and Dolphin in our area is a very narrow street. It was built as a neighborhood street, and it's now an access to Highway 98. And the speeds that are attained out there, they put up speed bumps. They need to either increase them or put more stop signs, but we've got little 3-year-olds across the street, and they, fear for their children's and pets, lives, because the speeds that are coming down the road, that was never meant to be to handle that kind of traffic.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Did you have your answer? Okay. I'll come.
Hi, Hi, my name is Davis. My wife and I moved here from Southern California 5 years ago. We started looking for a place to retire and to live in Pensacola, went all the way down to Panama City Beach, and we chose to live in Destin. And after living here for a year, we decided we wanted to spend the rest of our sojourn on earth here. And with all the difficulties I know that we are talking about tonight and the experience here, it's still a fantastic place to live as far as we're concerned. We really enjoy the community. I perceive, though, and maybe I'm wrong, but just my perception, there seems to be a tension between property owners who are wanting to make money off of the tourist industry, which is fine, and then there's those like us who wanted a place to live and enjoy all this too, as full-time residents. I'm not sure exactly how to deal with all of that tension. I know we looked for years to find a place in Crystal Beach. It's a beautiful place, and I like to drive through it, but I couldn't really find, at least the way we looked, in the condos and in the single-family residences, a place that was really encouraging for full-time living. It just seemed to be totally, well, not totally, but a large majority of just a tourist, which I'm happy for them, but it just didn't seem to be the kind of a place that my wife and I really wanted to retire. And so I say that not just to give you a perspective. I mean, we come from Southern California. It's the land of high taxes, high regulation, citizenship challenged people, and we just absolutely discovered America again when we moved to Northwest Florida. We love it here, and so I just don't want to see our beautiful city become like Southern California. So anyway, that's just my perspective, and I don't know what it can do with it, but I do hope that we can encourage more and more opportunities for people like us, no matter what their age is, to come and retire here and live here full time. And that's always going to, like I said, be a challenge as far as the other side of the coin for the tourists and those people who profit from it.
Yes, sir.
As most of you know, our utilities in Crystal Beach are some underground and some above ground, and that's sort of the nature, I guess, of a community that's not brand new, like Alice Beach or something like that. But I would be very interested in seeing an effort moving forward, both for aesthetic reasons and for continuity during hurricanes and after hurricanes, of getting our power underground.
Yes.
Amen. I see any other hands?
Hi, I just want to emphasize again about I think that we're going to have to rely more on pedestrian and multimodal along the corridors because of the regional traffic that Destin's just stuck with, like the other coastal counties and cities. But I would just really love for you guys to look at, coming from another area of the state, how we could really enhance that safety and also encourage people to walk in the area, particularly in the town center area and Crystal Beach. And again, I want to emphasize the transition area is so important too. In the area where we're transitioning to the Crystal Beach, multifamily and mixed-use areas. So, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, there's one more hand.
You mentioned the decline in property taxes over the last 5 or 6 years and didn't really specify a reason for it. And then a lot of, if you're talking about the next 20 years and redevelopment, it's going to be about money. So what about the other revenues that are generated here, and where are they at in comparison to where they were 5 years ago, or where they're going to be 5 years down the road? To improve the roads, to improve the utilities, where's the money going to come from to pay for that? Have you done much more analysis in terms of the tax revenue in the area? Or?
All right, team, do you want to take that, or you want to?
That's, I think, something that we can come back with in more detail. Obviously, the land development code itself, which is the primary focus of our efforts, is not primarily implemented by the public sector, although there may be public sector projects that would support that. and we certainly need to identify revenue sources if that's the case. One particular thing that we have talked about is the sales tax is allocated from Okaloosa. A lot of sales tax is collected in Destin, but it doesn't all come back to Destin. It's allocated on the basis of the size of your permanent population, which is fairly small comparatively. And it isn't allocated back to that based on how many people you're actually supporting in terms of visitors. So that, unfortunately, is not something that the city of Destin can fix. Again, we're not from around here, but maybe you, if you have a county council or something that you can write, that'd be a good idea.
Did that answer your question?
Actually, that hit right to the heart of the question, because the other chart showed how few permanent residents actually live here versus how many tourists are here. And she just answered the fact that most of that money is going elsewhere. So all the tourist tax revenues going somewhere else.
Well, one of the other problems you see is their data that they've used was from a specific time.
Right.
Because if you go back and look at it, you're going to see this, you're going to start seeing that decline, you're going to see a peak, now they're going back down. They started at the peak and brought you down. They didn't start here. You understand? So we got this just like everything else.
Right.
And
that was as far back as the DOR data that went. I realized it did start around that time. That wasn't intentional.
No, that's fine.
So, I think I understand what you said, sir, but are you saying, I'm trying to understand what the implication is. Is the implication it was on a really strong growth curve?
Yeah,
we had the recession, but you think it's a trend that maybe is not going to reverse? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I think you're going to see a trend upward, my personal opinion.
Okay.
But look, it can't get any worse than what we went through in 8 and 9 around the country.
I agree.
But if you see the growth in 02, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you see off the cliff in 8, I mean, their tax base wasn't always at the 07 level, which she used as the financial number.
Yeah.
They see the growth, and then they see the drop off. But I think you'll see, my personal opinion, you're seeing it now.
All right, team, there's one more question back here.
I'm Charles Morgan, and I have a business and a home in Crystal Beach. And I think it's important for y'all to know on your first night of these 4 meetings that this is likely to be the least contentious of your nights. And there's a reason for that. It's because Crystal Beach is about the nicest place in Destin. It's easier, and it's nice for a variety of ways. We're not inundated with chain businesses and t-shirt shops and that kind of thing. It's also about the most walkable, maybe with holiday hours walkable, but for walkability and bicycle riders, it's the nicest, most pleasant thing. There's not any bike paths, but there don't need to be because the traffic goes about 20 or 25 miles an hour. People have misconceptions about bicyclists don't really they like the 42 inches on the side of the road, but not a separate lane just for bikes. There's problems with that. But Crystal Beach it's got some glitches, but it's way head and shoulders above what y'all are getting ready to face, particularly tomorrow night. And so, enjoy tonight.
I just want to say before I go, Walton County has 1.5% discretionary sales tax, and Santa Rosa County has 0.5. Okaloosa 0.
I think I saw a hint in this direction. All right.
Just a very, very brief comment following on the gentleman behind me who selected Destin as a place to retire, and other comments that have been made. It's been my observation that over the last 5 years or so, from things I've seen and stories I've heard, that we have an out-migration of permanent residents. So that small slice of the pie is, at least in some parts of it, getting smaller. And it's getting smaller, at least by my observation, what I've been told, is much of that out-migration is because of the uncertainty of what's going to happen in the future with respect to some of the excesses that are going on in town at the present time and are getting worse on a daily basis. And many of those excesses are up here already with the ones with the big check marks on them. So we have an out-migration of people that's occurring, as well as, of course, in-migration.
I do live in Crystal Beach. I totally agree with your comment.
one of our neighbors left because of those issues, moved to 38 to get away from all these issues that have been highlighted. What I'd like to add to the conversation, though, is in the planning process, I'm talking about structural and all this stuff, is that you take into account that the quality of life, improving the quality of life, and that this community should be primarily focused on, how do we make this a family community, both residents and destination community for families, not for spring breakers who want to get drunk and fall down in the street. And families, I'm not only talking about retirees like myself, but the Army, Navy, Air Force personnel, military personnel families, and other families, young families. And you have to do that in the planning phase, such with the parks and these other things, to bring families in to get more permanent residency. So to me, if you address the planning of the roads, the buildings, you preclude these houses that were built by me that have 9 bedrooms near you, and and the speeding and these items, you can improve the quality and get more families in by parks and the way you put parameters on buildings, what's being built, and how the roads will work. But until you do that, from that point, we'll still have this problem.
Hands this way. All right.
Just to follow up on some of the other comments, I own a single-family home and have been in Crystal Beach for 21 years and had the same house for 21 years, and also moved here from Southern California back then, though. But I want to say, and just to emphasize some of what these others have said, my block used to be 90% permanent residents, and it's now about 25% permanent residents. I'm not saying I have a solution or a question, but just want to make sure. I know the people in this room know these things, but I want to make sure the team knows these things. But there still are many of us, and some of my neighbors all right here, that do own and live in permanently single-family homes in Crystal Beach. Some of the ones you drive by and you might think it's a vacation home. They're not all. And so it is a real conundrum because it is a very mixed neighborhood, and if you want to live there, you need to know that you will have vacation rentals there. But so I'm not trying to say a good or a bad or anything, just want to make sure that as you're working on these things that you know a little more about them. Thank you. All right, I see the hand up there. This one.
I think at the end of the day, one of the challenges you face, we can go through all of this planning, and I've lived in Crystal Beach for 25 years and been through more plans and on and on, land use codes and on and on. If we don't get a handle on code enforcement, absolutely none of this matters. And I really believe that's the challenge right now. We don't come close on code enforcement in the city of Destin. I can walk 2 blocks around my house, and my house probably has some violations too, and you can just start putting stickers on. I don't care if it's parking on sidewalks, I don't care if it's setbacks from the road, 8-foot stockade fences right up against the right-of-way. We're beginning to look like a little area walled off prison cells over there. So until we get code enforcement, you're going to always have some tension. People just want to know what the rules are. Once you know what the rules are and how they'll be enforced, you make a decision to live or stay there. I mean, we've stayed 25 years. It's getting harder, and I hate saying that. Thank you.
All right, I see some hands from over here of folks that have not talked yet, so let's get your perspective and then we'll come back. Okay.
I don't live in Crystal Beach, so my question is, for those residents that do live in Crystal Beach, do you have a homeowners association of any sort?
Not all.
Is it possible that you could form one?
Yeah, you don't.
You don't want one? No. That's one way you can control, the short-term rental part.
Okay, is there anyone that has not spoken yet that still would like to speak? Anyone that's not spoken yet? Okay, I want to make sure. Okay, all right.
My comments are really the suggestions for the group to look at a couple different things. Because what I'm hearing is you really would prefer to not be so seasonal. And I know that from recent trainings, we've got, nearly 1,000 people again coming to Florida a day. So, And we had that in the early days, and the cohorts are, you know, the baby boomers with money, and they want nice.
Public again in another series of workshops that will probably look a lot like this one in late July. So we'll get your feedback on our recommendations. At that point, this will go to your normal board process. So it'll go to the local plan, the LPA board, local planning agency board, and then on to city council. And there'll be an official public hearing at city council, but of course that's a compressed period of time. So this is a much lengthier process where we can get a lot more input.
So that if city council looks at it and says, well, we like this or we don't like this.
Yeah, city council, at the end of the day, will vote it up or down. And some package of our recommendations, they certainly don't have to accept them or reject them whole.
So one quick follow-up, will there be the public input that you get in July, will that be incorporated, or is that just basically information we're showing you this and then it goes directly?
We're going to come back in July with graphic representation of what our recommendations might be. It won't be the formal package of recommendations. So we'll go ahead and take the input we get from you in July as part of forming our final recommendations.
Could I get a perspective, and Ken Gallagher is probably the best person to answer this, and where does this process fall in the comprehensive planning for the city of Destin? Has the comprehensive plan that was submitted been approved? And this is for 20 years out from now, and you'll take it into consideration what the public says to put into your next iteration of the comprehensive plan, which is 10 years down the road, or what? I mean, I don't know where we are in that process.
The exercise that we went through 2-3 years ago with our comprehensive plan, what was adopted by the city council and sent to the state towards the end of this, or beginning of this year, was everything except for the land use element, which is that first chapter about development. That is the exact same chapter that we've had for the last 7-8 years that we're trying to update. So what we're going to be doing is amending that chapter based on these recommendations and sending that back to the state for them to approve that update. And it could make some changes in other chapters as well. So the comprehensive plan is a dynamic document. It can be changed and it can be amended based on input in these kind of sessions continually. But we're looking at this comprehensive plan to be that 20-year down the road.
So it has a 20-year, what we call planning horizon. So we have to think 20 years in the future when we're doing it. But once something's on the books, it's in effect as soon as it's on the books from that day forward.
It's my understanding that the state of Florida requires you to resubmit it every 10 years. Is that correct?
It's actually an evaluation of appraisal every 7 years.
7 years.
Which was what we were going through before. So, but
does the state, are they required to approve the plan?
We have to submit them to approve it every type of, typically every amendment that we would go through. And those rules change based on the administration, so it's kind of an evolving process for us as well.
Did you have a question?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Can you tell us the history of the previous plan that was done and paid for, and I understand nothing was ever implemented?
I think what you might be referring to is a plan called the Saki plan. Yeah, that was a planning effort similar to this several years back that was done, and it was presented before the city council, and the city council did not adopt that plan. So the comprehensive plan we've had since, I think the original one was in 1990, and since then we've had 3 since then, including this one. So comprehensive plans are different documents than your Sasaki plan or those kind of plan documents.
And that was just, the site plan also was just the harbor area?
Right, it was a concentrated plan for a certain district. It had components of.
So of these comprehensive plans that have been submitted before, I know some didn't get approved, I guess, but some did.
All the comprehensive plans are adopted and approved by the city and sent to the state for their approval.
And so out of those plans, what's moved out? The harbor?
It's what you're seeing today.
What? I mean, really, what?
For which district or which?
Well, city in general, you know, citywide.
Well, the one example, a comprehensive plan had a policy about implementing a harbor boardwalk. That's been done. That was basically in the planning efforts for about 25 years.
Wow. Okay.
Funding and things like that are those critical components for us to be able to implement some of this public infrastructure.
Is anything happening right now on anything else?
Well, I think that, yeah, there's...
No, aside from the harbor.
We did the Morgan Sports Complex.
Okay.
Those are kind of some recreational things.
Mountain
Drive. Implemented roundabouts, we've extended.
Well, I haven't lived here that long, so I want suggestions. I'm asking you what's been, you know, proposed and what's been done. I don't know.
Well, I wish I had a great book, but I don't.
Those are great examples, but I didn't know. So,
And what I may do is you can certainly come by my office and we can go sit down and I can give you a whole.
I do. I read the mobile home park or something that sold out.
Part of our plan, we have a corridor management plan that shows where new roads are coming. Yes. We need about $5 million more.
All right, I'm seeing the crowd disperse, and I know it's getting evening. We certainly will stick around if you have individual questions, if you want to ask us. And a friendly reminder, we'll be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings, Thursday during the day, and Friday during the day. Ken, did you have any last minute comments that you want to make?
I do not.
All right, with that, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
I appreciate that.